Are we live?
We are.
Yes.
Live.
Hey.
Hi, guys.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, humans.
Ah. Love that.
So, what does Daddy call the show? Not so ready for prime.
Not quite ready for prime
That's
time.
Sunday.
No,
this is-
Sunday's lazy Sunday.
Oh, then yeah, not quite ready for prime time live stream. Something like that.
Something around those
Good and
lines.
Well, we have Caitlin from Make It Blue.
Hi, guys.
And Candy Mom's supposed to be coming in, but I'm not too sure. I'm hoping she gets the link and she's not having issues. So hopefully she'll be able to come in. Something might have come up, which is okay.
Yes.
It's okay.
Tonight we're going to be talking about autism and Disney. I say autism because that's our experience with Avery.
Yes.
So I'm not going to talk about like wheelchair access and all that type of stuff. It's just going to
Yes.
be, autism or social issues or anxiety. It also could be umbrellaed in that too.
So should we say hi to people in the
Yes,
chat?
do the chat.
Okay, so first here was Big Disney fan.
Yep. Keith.
Hey, Keith.
So,
Keith is number
and
one.
then Wendy Luhu got here second.
Hey, Wendy.
Cruising for food.
Yep, Wanda. Make sure you're also reading the things.
This Noah's Adventure.
Yep, Noah.
Mouse Talk, who apparently is a first timer.
Oh, welcome in, Mouse Talk.
Yes.
Don't forget to subscribe.
And then we have
Craig's Robotics.
Surfer Girl.
Yeah, Sherry.
Sherry, prayers to you and your family.
Yes, hopefully she's doing well.
It jumped on me.
It did.
The Disney Nerd Herders are here. I've heard they're a shifty bunch. AJC Magic TV is here.
Amy. Craig's
It's like we have Melissa.
It's jumped again. I think I saw Dougie.
It keeps jumping. We have, Melissa.
Yep.
Here. We have
Hi,
Melissa. D&G Explorers.
We have Meredith Dufley in the
Meredith
crew.
here. Yes.
Hey, Meredith.
Everyone.
Did you say everybody?
If we missed you, comment again. We're sorry. It keeps jumping on us. We need to fix this computer.
No, it's jumping.
Eric
Newman.
Hey, Eric.
Hello.
And hi, D&G Explorers.
Yeah,
Hello,
they are
everyone.
on after us tonight.
Yes.
At 8 o'clock.
In 58 minutes. I hope they're ready.
All right, so we're going to let's talk about first of how Avery is impacted by the autism.
Avery.
You want to do that?
Sure.
Yeah, we should do that. And then Caitlin, you can maybe talk about what you experience and what your challenges are.
Mm-hmm.
And then we can talk about it in relation to Disney and the special needs pass and how the parks handle it and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So with Avery,
if you didn't know, that's her son, my brother.
you know by now.
Well, I don't know. Maybe people are new. We don't know.
Right.
I mean, it's Mouse Talk's first time. Go ahead. Continue.
All right. So for Avery, he's got a handful of things. He's diagnosed with high functioning autism and also ADHD. Depending on what doctor he sees, they each all have a different diagnosis, which is hilarious. But it's all under the same umbrella. And he has issues. Well, he's had challenges, but he's also because he goes to Disney every year, he's overcome some of them, So initially, fireworks was a big issue because of the loud noise. So he would block his ears. I think he doesn't block his ears anymore.
He does not.
I don't think it's 100. I think he does sometimes, but not all the time. So
but
the fireworks
he used to
huge.
have to be in a building. He could not be outside while there were fireworks going on.
Yeah, we started with him in the building, and then blocking the ears. Also, a break of routine. Obviously, when you go on vacation, your whole routine gets all combobulated. So that was always a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
What else? Long lines. He's the type that, for example, we were in line with him when he was little, and it was for a character. and we were up next to see the character, and then they were like, oh, it's time for so and so to take a break, and I went to work. I'm like, please, his special needs, once that character leaves, he's not gonna be able to stay in that line. And we missed out after staying in the line and finally getting up to there. They're like, sorry, we have this time, which I totally get it. They have to do what they have to do. So once the character left, he no longer was interested, and we had to leave, and he didn't get to see the character. That was when he was younger. Now he knows that they take breaks and they come back, but that was like a learning curve for him. Big crowds is a huge thing. I think a lot of people that just have anxiety. Big crowds,
especially when you're short.
Yeah, go ahead. You can tell us the little story.
The story of, was it New Year's or?
It was like New Year's.
Oh,
New Year's
holidays.
And that's the worst of the worst.
Yeah, I've been like 4'2" since from up until I was like 14, and then I had a major growth spurt.
I didn't get my growth spurt until high school either.
Yeah, so I was like, it was a couple. When was this?
It was a holiday, and it was like a total bottleneck.
Yeah,
where
Magic Kingdom,
where Main Street ends, and then all the projections I think were going. It was a total bottleneck where you couldn't move. You were like sardines.
Yeah, in a can.
And she was at the level of everybody's bums.
Yeah, I was at bum.
So all she saw was bum.
Yeah.
So then, because we're so compacted, it was like smothering.
Yeah.
Just because. And with her, so now we're trying to hold her up so
they're
she could
literally
breathe fresh air.
Around. It was like the Lion King. Like they should have started singing, nah.
I know. But yeah, so lots of crowds like that impacted you, and you're not on the spectrum.
Yeah.
But crowds also with he sometimes has a rough time, but as he's gotten older, he's overcome a lot of these things.
Yes.
So I mentioned the lines, the ears, overstimulation.
Yeah.
That Disney parks are overstimulation for a lot of people. Never mind the ones on the spectrum. So much going on and stuff like that.
Such a unique environment.
Oh yeah. Yes. I mean, if we took him I always wonder if we didn't take him every year, and then we just took him. I wonder how he would react. Compared to what he does now.
Yeah.
He's much more go with the flow. He knows the routine. We try to stay with the routine. He knows
plus
everything.
Because he knows where everything is, and he knows like what he wants. So if we say, okay, we're going to Magic Kingdom tomorrow, he'll go, okay, so this is what we're doing. This is where I want to eat. This is he'll start talking about what he wants to eat and where he wants to eat. Yeah. And
it sounds like he and I are the same person.
Yeah. So he'll already have like something in his mind, like, okay, this is what we're going to do. This is where we're going to go after we do it. And he likes staying like in, like he likes knowing where we're going next.
Yeah.
So he'll always ask, what's next?
Right. Yeah. But he also is the type that if you took him to a zoo and you had cages, you're looking at the first cage. He'll walk up to it and he's already wondering what's in the next cage. And he didn't even know what's in the first cage. He's one of those type of kids. So it's kind of like, well, let's look at this. Let's enjoy this, where he's always looking ahead. Which I have a feeling that's in relation to autism, just because you focus on the one that could be the ADHD. You can't focus on the first thing in front of him. But he has more challenges. And one of the main things that I think has a huge impact with him and how he's changed is the flying to Disney.
Flying's a big challenge for a lot of autistic families.
Yes. There are so many stages, to get to the end of the, down in Disney. Yeah. So what we did was we made a list, because when Avery was in school, a lot of them did like lists, like a morning routine. You have the picture,
like a picture list,
the toothbrush, the face cloth. And
if you watched our travel day video from 2 years ago, you will see the list.
Yeah.
The picture, like a picture. Routine? I remember those
pictures. Yeah. And then he used to move it over to the completed column. So what we did is, because there's so many steps to get to Disney from here, we made a list. So it was, you get up, you get ready, you eat, either to the breakfast, lunch, or supper, you eat. we're going to pack up the car. Then we're going to drive to the airport. It's like every step we got to check in. We got to check our luggage. We got to go to the gate, you know, and there was everything. We got to fly.
Yeah.
Then
Land
we got
safely.
land safely, you know, go to the rental car, you know, get our suitcases, rental car, drive to the hotel, you know. So we list that all out. And that was huge for him.
Mm-hmm.
And it and you like that too.
Yes.
So she's like that. And that's probably the ADHD too, maybe.
Probably.
So, but he doesn't need that anymore, but she still uses it.
I didn't use it this year because we drove.
Right.
But when we
Was it different for him that he drove this year?
Yes.
Yeah, you guys had to do a little bit of that for driving? Because it's like a wholly different, you know, space than driving.
Yeah. I mean, we did tell him, okay, you know, we're going to be driving and probably like, what? We weren't even out of the state. And he's like,
yeah, it was like 15, 20 minutes. And he's like, are we almost there?
Like, what country are we in?
Oh, Candy Mom's backstage.
Sorry.
Yes.
Yes. I just saw you in the chat. I'm like, oh, wait a second. Why is she in the chat?
I was actually upstairs and I was like, I looked at my phone. I was like, oh my God, it's 7.
It happens. Life happens.
Oh, welcome,
I'm like,
Cynthia.
Reason.
So me and Sophie were just talking about the different challenges that Avery has being autistic and ADHD. And kind of some of the things that we do to prep him for a trip. Caitlin, what are your biggest challenges?
Well, for me, I have kind of a trifecta of diagnoses. So for those of you who don't know, I was diagnosed with autism, but I was diagnosed nonverbal at the time of my diagnosis. So a totally different situation than what I am today. I'm closest to neurotypical as possible, which is good, but at the same time, it brings its own challenges. And then I'm also diagnosed with being deaf in one ear. That is a medical mystery. Doctors have no idea what happened. So that's going to be a continuing medical mystery for the rest of my life, probably, but that's okay. Autism for me, so when I was younger in the parks, I know that lines did cause a problem. I remember noises would always be an issue. But yet again, that's my hearing too. Like you have to do twice the work to do a normal everyday day at the park. So you have already dealing with overstimulation, and if you have half the hearing of the rest of the world, you're dealing with a whole much more sound input. And then you have to try to figure out how to differentiate that. So I know sound was a problem. Overstimulation was always a problem in dark rides. We would try to avoid dark rides as much as possible. Like Haunted Mansion is still one today that it's still a little bit difficult. I didn't start liking Space Mountain until my college program days, which is a little scary. And then especially when I was nonverbal, communicating with the characters was a little bit tricky, because obviously if I was just started to talk, I couldn't put together a full sentence at 6 years old. And I would confuse the characters or the character attendants at times, because they would be like, okay, what are you trying to say? And then my mom's trying to explain. She's like, okay, there's a certain part of that will work. Am I hearing the noise in the background?
I'm hearing a little
Yeah,
static.
I'm hearing that too.
Let me see if it's mine. Hold on.
Okay. No.
Is it me? Can y'all hear my air conditioner?
No. I thought it was my hearing going whacked, because sometimes the world puts strange things in my head that are sounds, but nobody else hears. And it's the craziest thing on the planet. Anyways, that's one of the things that were annoyed. I would hear a noise and I would go right to it. And I was also the wandering type. Unfortunately, I was the unwandering type. So getting lost in the park was a pretty big chance. We started wearing ID bracelets for us in the parks, me and my sister both. Fantastic resource. Any parents with autistic kids, I highly recommend that. Getting ID bracelets and making a mission to doing that, because it helped with cast members. And then also my mom had to memorize what I was wearing every day. So she just took a picture before we left for the park that day. So that way she would know what I was wearing in case if that happened. But now, as a 24-year-old in the park, I think fireworks still set me off a little bit. The daytime, because those are kind of, we can't really time those very well. with like the stage shows and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The only thing that doesn't cause me a problem is Phantasmic, but that's my favorite. So you get used to it. And the routine for me is really big. I like to know where I'm going and what I'm planning for that day. Like I usually have my trip planned out 6 months before I'm going. And a lot of people is like, that's a lot to do. I'm like, yeah, that's my autism and ADHD talking. And for females, autism and ADHD is a lot different combination than if you were a male doing autism and ADHD, because they never really studied the female brain with autism, so they don't really know what the real differentiation is. They know that it's the same gene mutation, but it just happens.
Yeah, I had a friend that had her daughter was autistic. So,
Yeah.
you know, a lot of similarities, but there were some different, different things. Cynthia, welcome in.
Hey.
Yes, and welcome in Laura B.
Mm-hmm.
And James Ryan, my mod
James Ryan.
extraordinaire. Hello, James.
I was trying to figure out if it was me making that noise.
I don't hear
It is.
anymore.
I heard you when you came in, so I think it is you.
Yeah, and then you muted it, it went away.
I don't know. I don't hear it anymore.
Yeah, I don't hear it
So we're
now.
good.
And James, I'm jealous. You're in Epcot right now.
But I'm sitting here listening to Caitlin. It's like listening to my daughter. You know, it's unreal. It's like I'm looking at an older version of my daughter.
Yeah.
It's crazy because the journey that I had, it took doctors 1.5 years to get me diagnosed.
I actually didn't want to accept it at first, and I got the diagnosis on my birthday.
Oh. I always tell new parents that it's okay to grieve, like the first couple days, like the first like month or so. It's okay to grieve that diagnosis because like, you don't know what's coming. And I think that's the scariest thing with autism is that you hear about all these bad cases, but it's not necessarily going to be that way. I was told I was going to be nonverbal. I was never going to get a job, never get into college, wasn't ever going to graduate high school. And look where I am today. I graduated high school with no special ed. I was completely dropped out my senior year. I'm about to enter college next fall and start that journey. And I already worked for Disney, which is the biggest company in the world. So I always tell the world, doctors, you all can always prove you're wrong. And a diagnosis doesn't set you back. You just figure out how to deal with life with it.
Right. You get like we found out his diagnosis a week before Christmas. I think when he was 3. So that was kind of a shock. And they do say you go through the grieving process as if someone died. And then kind
of live.
I didn't even there was times where I didn't think it was going to be able to graduate, how like and get an actual degree versus a certificate. And he did. He actually passed all his MCAS and was able to graduate. I mean, it was a lot of work on, our part. It's a
lot of work on both of our parts, the child and the parent. It takes tons of work because I had 13 years of speech therapy, 6 years of physical therapy, and 2 years of occupational therapy. Thank goodness I didn't need ABA. ABA is very controversial in the autism world.
Hello. What's that?
Hi, I love your glasses.
She picked them out herself.
Oh,
you did a fantastic job choosing.
I love her hair.
That's how I use
it. You want to roll it?
I know, it's like a little Sophie.
But oh my God, like if I didn't know my daughter, Disney would have been ruined for me. But you can make autism work with Disney.
The best piece of advice doctors gave my mom and my family when I got diagnosed was to take life one day at a time, because they said autism changes every day.
Well, yeah, the first time we went to Disney, it was the girl did not understand. You think somebody knows your kid. And she was just like stressed out. She's like, why do you keep calling your daughter's name? And why this and why that? And I'm like, have you just now met my daughter? And I had known this girl for like, at this point, like 7 years. And she just acted like it was a whole new world, being at Disney with Reese. And then the next year I went back and I planned out this great little trip. Thanks, Surfer Girl. And there was times that things weren't working for her. I could tell she was starting to get overstimulated. If I'm sitting on there's that glass door where they had a glass, blown glass castle.
Yes.
The alley right there, and I'm sitting there in the middle of flipping Disney, watching a Disney cartoon. I paid all this money, and it hits me. I need to follow her lead.
Yeah.
And so if I couldn't make it to a ride, I let it go. We watched PhilharMagic like 3 times in a row.
PhilharMagic is a family favorite.
You know, what was the other thing we did? Teacups. I hate teacups. But anything she did, we did. You know, I just followed her lead.
Right. Yeah, that's what you gotta kind of do.
Yeah, take life one day at a time, and then on the bad days, they say take life 1 hour at a time. Some days we did have to take it 1 hour at a time because it got so bad. Especially with school testing was the worst because Wisconsin, the state of Wisconsin had it twice a year, or no, once a year, but it was like a week long. And so it disrupted your entire routine. Sometimes they would test me for hearing because that's how they prove that you're in special ed. You either take an IQ test or you take a hearing test, which is what I had to do. And usually it's always during state testing week, which is fun. So then you're missing time from that and you can't get that time back. So it's like the most stressful time. But you get used to it. But I will say it took me a long time to realize what my strengths and weaknesses are, like as a person. Like I didn't start advocating for myself until like the 6th or 7th grade because I was starting to realize that teachers weren't accommodating my IEP. So I was like, okay, I need to advocate for myself because apparently people can't read. So I'm like, I'm just gonna advocate for myself. And they're like, you know, senior, they're like, oh, she advocates for herself beautifully, and my mom's like, yeah, she's had to. Because teachers don't read it.
Yeah, so we haven't had issues with the teachers.
Very lucky about that.
I feel like the parent is a big role in advocating. You know, for especially at school. I mean, I set the tone. There's times where I've walked in and new teachers, and I just say, you know what, if my kid gets bullied, there's gonna be a problem. It's like, and then you have to learn how to talk. So it's more like, well, what is the school going to do to help this? So you put the ownership on them, not on the ownership of me, you know, because it's stuff that the school should be teaching, that type of thing. So we've learned how to talk, you know, the talk and also when to put, you know, a foot down.
Yeah, and that
so
helped
they
with
know.
me with my ADHD because when I came up, they already knew her. So they were like, okay.
They're like, oh,
They're like, oh no.
Start another IEP coming.
Yeah. So
IEPs are just crazy, and hats off to parents right now who are still in public education right now and are dealing with this whole new world that, you know, the world is in right now with IEPs. I'm so glad I'm not in the public education system anymore. It's just it's a mess. I'm very fortunate. My IEP was always at the beginning of the school year. Like literally like the first couple weeks of school would be when my IEP was, so everyone would get together. But obviously it didn't work if they kept doing it. But it was nice still to get in the beginning because then you know what was coming up for the year. And they required the child to be in the room at 13. So I had like 6 or 7 IEPs that I was sitting in. However, my mom maybe excused myself from 2 of them. She's like, if my daughter never put input on this IEP meeting, why is she here? Because sometimes they would fill out forms for you, but there was 2 years where I didn't fill out anything. And she's like, why is she here?
My favorite thing to do is if I see them looking at the clock, I'll add another 5 minutes of talking on there.
I wish I knew to do that. I didn't think of that.
Well, I did that all the time in school, unfortunately, but that was for another reason because I never did eye contact until like the 6th grade.
Yeah.
My poor mom never got eye contact from me until like the 6th or 7th grade.
We gotta welcome in Jim for More Sunshine, please. And also I saw Carlos in here as well. Carlos, Disney World. So Cynthia, what are some of the challenges that your daughter has? Like an everyday type thing?
Well, the biggest thing is playing with other kids. They at first they'll play with her, and then they'll notice that there's something different about her,
Mm-hmm.
that she's not able to carry the conversation on like they want, or she's not understanding the rules of the game. You know, I send her to daycare so that she can get intertwined with other kids. But with this pandemic, I gave my spot up, you know, to parents who didn't have a grandparent at home that could help out.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
Yeah, Avery had those challenges as well. He did daycare from when he was a baby all the way up until I think once he hit his 18th birthday or something, he had to stop.
It
No,
wasn't just. It was
16?
like
16th birthday or something.
it was when I was when I turned 13, he couldn't go anymore.
Yeah,
because he was there because I was still there. So they were just like, sure.
All right. Well, anyway, so we noticed that too. There could be a group of kids. He would stand there and watch them and want to join, but he didn't know how to. And then the same thing with the when they're talking about something, he'll start talking about something totally different. You know, it's what he's interested in versus. So yeah. So
Yeah,
we,
that's 100. Why are they mad at me? They hate me. And I'm like, no, baby. They just don't understand what you're trying to say. They don't understand Reese's lingo.
yeah. See, I don't even think Avery would know. I don't know. If
I didn't know, and I still don't know.
You know,
but I would
only
tell her
took it
this,
through
like,
my
she wouldn't
college program.
understand it, you know what I mean? Because I would have to go through the same process each time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, they notice when she doesn't eat a certain dessert. Like she'll do like soft serve ice cream and glazed donuts, but won't do cookies and, you know, brownies and all that stuff. And the kids notice that stuff, you know, and they tease you, you know?
Yeah.
And they also don't. And some of those kids, I say that they are innocent in the way that they thinking, because if they don't grow up around a special needs family or know somebody with special needs that they interact with all the time, they're not going to know what it's like in human, because they only see what they grow up at home before they start going to school. And not every school district teaches kids that, okay, there's kids that are going to be different than you medically, but it doesn't mean that they're not capable or they're not able to, you know, do what they want.
Right.
And I think that's the major problem, and that's why I'm excited for like Julia from Sesame Street. Is one of the things I'm really excited that is in Sesame Street now, seeing a nonverbal, especially female character on Sesame Street. I think it's going to make a big difference in helping kids understand, okay, this is what autism is, but that doesn't mean that they can be like any other kid. They still love to play. They still love to hang out with you. They just do it in a different way.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna welcome in being the girls.
Yeah.
And not like Charlie's words, your dad's words. We set the tone.
Yes.
That's putting it nicely.
She's coming to me trying to do walkie-talkie while I'm live.
Aww.
That's all right. You can do walkie-talkie and be on here too.
Oh, you heard her voice before?
Right there. So one of the things that we use, I don't say a lot, but we do use is the Disney's disability pass.
Yeah.
They call
Disability
it
access. Yeah, disability access system.
Yeah. And then we also use the disability pass in Universal. So the disability pass basically only allows you to have 14 days and 6 people on the pass at once. So, I mean, we could have 8 people linked, but only 6 people can use the pass.
To go on a certain ride
to go on
at
a specific
time.
ride.
Right.
And Avery has to be there. So
Yes, one of the 6.
right, of course, because you have this pass for him. But I know people probably try to take advantage of that, you know. So, and then, well, that also depends on the cast member. There's some cast members that
It depends on the ride too.
right.
Because like for the Runaway Railway, they're not gonna let 7 people in, especially if there's like a crazy long line. But if it's for like
It's a small world.
or like the Living Seas, where that is like a 5-minute wait, you shouldn't need it. But if you were to need it, they probably would let you.
Right.
Go
Because we did have a time where we actually had 7 people. You know, not often, but we did have that.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I really think is interesting is that she's so cute.
See? It never stops.
No worries. When we go, every time we went to sign up for the pass, the disability pass at Disney, I always had a doctor's note. The doctor's
I do
note
too. I'm paranoid.
and why. why he can't do the regular line system. And Disney always refuses it. But then they'll ask you a bunch of questions.
Wake up. Sorry.
They'll ask a bunch of questions, like when we first had to initially get it. And it's like, well, my note tells you, answers your questions, but by law they can't, which I totally get it. I know the HIPAA laws and all that. But it would just make it easier. And I think that would also rule out people that don't need it, because you always have some.
Oh, that's the number one worst guess ever.
So yeah. So I wish they would take. If I'm offering it, they should be able to take it. Is the way I look at it.
I actually have friends that refuse to use it because they figure there's somebody worse than them. And I said, well, that's you're entitled to your opinion, but Disney's the one place I feel that my child can let loose.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna let you take that service.
Right.
I don't use it as an adult now. I've been to Disney so many times that, and especially working as a cast member, that truly helped. So my last couple of trips, I've actually been able to go without it and just avoid the long lines. So Flight of Passage, I rarely do unless if I do rope drop at Animal Kingdom that day. So I can avoid it, but if I was going at Christmas or New Year's, I probably would have. And luckily my college program was never during that time frame. So I never was able to deal with that because we never did Thanksgiving and we never did Christmas.
So I want to do Christmas so bad too.
I do too, but it's like I don't want to put myself, when I know it can be bad, and put yourself in a bad space, in a mental space. Like, you don't want to do that. You want to be happy at Disney. You don't want to be overstimulated for most of the trip.
Stacy, before I forget, my daughter loves your son's movies.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Action figures, she's all over it.
That's so bad. I'll have to let him know.
He's got a crew.
His first thumbs down, so that kind of was a
Tell him, no, that's officially, you made it.
I know.
I just had a video recently getting like a couple of thumbs down. Everyone's like, "Hey, Caitlin, you made it."
So Wanda, we totally agree. There'll always be people who want to beat the system, and that is one of the reasons why they updated their specials, is because people were being hired. They were actually being hired to use their pass to go around the parks. So
yeah, I think NBC. I think NBC was the one to find that out, and it was specifically at Disneyland Resort. I think it was via Craigslist, and they would have these people get hired on Craigslist to go in the park and do their pass. And the only way I can see that making that viable, like to skip the entire line, is if you had a wheelchair queue, but the wheelchair that was stationary and they can't get out of it and they can't fit in the regular queue. Like, that's a situation where that would be valid because you want to be able to fully access the ride regardless. And not everyone can transfer,
Right.
So there's some things that I'm like, okay, it makes sense when they looked at the old pass, but at the same time, there were so many loopholes in that old system that people could just easily do that. And we've gotten stairs in the parks before when we've used it.
Yeah, I still feel like, I know that by law they can't ask for a doctor's note, but I think if they were able to, then you're going to rule out all the people that's taking advantage, right? Because
Exactly.
the doctor's going to write that there's something, physical or mentally wrong. And Charlie makes a point that we try not to use the pass as often. If the lines are not long, we don't use the pass. We try not to take advantage of it. Again, it's also the same logic that, there's other people that need it more than Avery. And if he can handle that length of a ride, he's going to do it, because how is, it's going to make him grow too, to have to start, staying in a little bit longer lines and stuff like that.
But just do it in steps. That's what I did, going to the parks and kind of getting yourself to that longer line, is that we did it in steps. So we would do sometimes the next trip, if we did like a max of 45-minute wait, okay, let's do the next time at an hour, and then reevaluate. And if it's good, like, then we can continue staying up to an hour. But if it's not good, then let's scale it back. Like, we judged it based on how I was doing. and it helped. And it was my sister only went to the parks. It was pretty bad for her until she was probably like 9 or 10, and then past that point, I was pretty much good from that time point forward. But until that point, we just judged it by trip.
Yeah. Speaking of doing it in spurts, like when Test Track was open, we couldn't wait to go on Test Track. And Avery was young. He was young. And so we're all like, oh, we're going to go on this new ride. And we start walking up to the Test Track, and then the big car comes around. It makes that noise.
Yes.
Well, that's not happening now, right? So we would try, okay, let's try going Test Track. And you got to try timing it to get in. I mean, it took us, I don't know how many years to finally get Avery into the building.
Yeah, I remember. It was because I remember it too. So I had to get enough to have a memory of it.
So
I've
now,
had numerous attacks in the old pavilion.
Well, that's the thing.
The older version. The noises would set me off.
Yeah. So when we finally got 1 year, he gets into the building. Then it's all the test dummies and all the noises in there. So
we the older one.
Remember that?
Yeah.
So we wouldn't be able to do it, and then we try again. And eventually we finally got on the ride, but it took years. Of course, we don't live down there. So you got to think it's, one vacation a year. But it took years before Avery could ride Test Track. Mm-hmm. Now he loves it. No problems whatsoever.
Yeah, there's also the aren't there anymore, so there's less noises inside.
Right.
Well, the new reimagined, like a lot of people don't like the new reimagined, and I understand. Like the old version of Test Track is the most authentic to what car testing is like.
Yeah.
But it's also nice seeing a test track that those of us with sensory needs can handle. We can still enjoy the attraction. The only thing I wish they had was captioning in the car that I could press, because the captioning in there doesn't really work well because it's based off the Wi-Fi, and obviously when you're outside you don't really get anything. Yeah. But other than that, like, it's pretty sensory friendly now. Even the actual track now, I feel like is less noisy than it was with the old version of Test Track, especially on the downhill. So you go up the hill, that's fine. But down, it's not as bumpy anymore. I told a big difference. The hot and cold chambers were not my thing. Hated those.
Oh yeah, they don't do that anymore, do they?
No, that's the eco-friendly test now.
They don't do that anymore. Yeah.
And most of the time I had to hold my ears when we were in those test streams, because it made a weird buzzing noise. But for me, it sounded like it was an echo. So if you're hearing a loud sound for a short of like 2 chambers, and then you have it echoing, it's like sets you off. So my mom would try to close my eyes so I'm not in the same, because it would mess my brain up, being like, okay, you're not in anything. Even though I grew up in Wisconsin, where it's hot in the summer and extremely cold in the winter, you would think I would handle that, but nope.
As the trips went on, and as he got older, he knew which rides or when during a show that he had to plug his ears.
Yeah, like the Ellen ride is a great example. The Energy Ellen ride that used to be there, it's not there anymore. It closed.
I love that ride.
But like during the Big Bang part, he knew to cover his ears, or during like the helicopter when it first started showing up, he knew to cover his ears. So you always knew when there was like a loud part coming because you see him cover his ears.
Yeah, he'd do it right before it happened. So it's
that's me in Imagination with Figment, the last section of
Figment.
Imagination is blessed.
I don't think there's anything now in Disney that bothers Avery.
I don't know.
I mean, he might block his ears a couple times, but
Frozen Ever After is the only attraction for me that is a problem, and that's because Elsa's part is way too loud for me.
Oh, we sing to Avery. We belt the song "Let It Go," and Avery just dies.
He's a giggler. He giggles the entire time while going backwards.
Cynthia, is there any specific rides that your daughter has a hard time going on?
Tower of Terror.
Yep.
I know it sounds kind of weird, but ever since that first trip, the girl didn't tell me what kind of ride it was. So it caught us off guard. And to this day, she still doesn't like going in elevators because of that ride.
Yeah, it took me a while to get off the elevator train. I had that exact same thing happen. I
And
didn't
then
hate Tower
we
Terror.
went to Nashville, Tennessee to see my great nephew. And one of the elevators, I convinced her to get in there, and it didn't want to move, and the doors didn't want to open.
Oh no.
No.
And we had my nephew there, or my niece's husband, and their baby, which was 3 months old, my daughter, and a construction worker. He was calling for a crowbar. It was used as a bathroom, so it smelled in there.
Oh.
Jim, that's another problem too. Big Thunder Mountain on the hills.
I'm never going in there again.
Yeah.
Never. Old elevators. No, no, no. It's like,
Oh.
and I felt
And
bad
they
because my niece
remember that
had
too.
a meltdown.
Oh.
She's gonna remember that. It's gonna be a while before
Yeah, Avery only goes on Tower Terror once a year.
once. He doesn't like the glass
I love
broken.
Frozen though, like beyond more than most kids.
Yeah.
Well, Frozen, I feel like for me, I grew up with the older princesses, so
Wow.
my connection came from like Mulan was a big inspiration for me, because she changed the narrative for a generation.
Oh,
You
see,
know,
Reese wasn't nonverbal, but she was like a delayed talker.
right?
And when Frozen came out, I got clips of it still where she goes, "They go, they go," and actually Anna's her favorite. She don't Elsa who? She loves Anna.
I feel like Anna's the real star of Frozen. Let me just say.
But yeah, so every time I know Jim says these people are like characters, actors and whatever. But when I see Anna and Elsa, I geek out because it brings me back to when she wasn't talking much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can relate to like those small little milestones. You're just like, yeah.
Yeah, it's the little victories. Like you celebrate the big victories, but I feel like for an autistic family, celebrating those small victories means so much.
Yeah.
Like my mom was like, couldn't care. Well, she cared, but she couldn't care less that I graduated high school. She was excited when I said my first word, or went on the escalator for the first time and didn't trip on myself, which happened a lot. Or the first time that I learned a sign language without being taught and just figured it out on my own.
Yeah.
Small little victories like that, you always get tangled. But the whole thing with Frozen for me, so goes back to my college program days. When it opened, it broke down several days. The first day it opened, it was down for several hours at a time, and they wanted to figure out what the problem was. So they put out like 8 or 9 test shifts, and cast members would sign up for them, and they were in 4-hour sprints. And I never was able to ride Frozen during my college program because it was always so busy and so long of a line that I knew I couldn't handle it. And so I wrote it, and Imagineers happened to be there that day. The actual Imagineers that designed the attraction. And I loved the attraction until I got to the Elsa part, and it echoed like crazy. And I couldn't handle it. I was about to go into a meltdown, and I didn't want other cast to be questioned what was going on. Luckily, I got off that next boat because they switched it up because they wanted to figure out if the weight was an issue. Like if somebody was in the back and somebody later was in the front, would it not allow enough momentum for it to move? So the Imagineer said, "Hey, is there anything that you could change?" Well, I said, "Yeah, I actually am a disabled cast member. I work in Disney Springs." I said, "I never got a chance to ride this attraction." I said, "For a lot of people with sensory needs, and especially with hearing loss, turn down Elsa's voice and let it go." I said, "Even a couple decibels will do wonders. I know that you're trying to get away from the engine noise from the motor of it turning, but I'm deaf in one ear and also autistic, and that echoes because it's like in a corner, a hollow corner. So it's one person can take it as Elsa just singing. For me, it sounds like 10 Elsas are singing."
Oh.
And
Well,
it's
you
like,
able to ride with us because we all built it and we teased Avery the whole time. We even had Melissa, right?
Yeah.
well, I think Melissa, I feel like would have a lot of fun on that.
Yeah. So we got them singing too. It was super fun.
And Jim too, right?
And Jim,
Stacey,
yeah.
we'll go with you. Stacey and I sing it at the top of our lungs.
Yeah, the only thing I like about Tower of Terror is the pre-show. Everything else.
Let it go.
I think it's one of the first songs I learned in ASL to cover. And it was so much fun. I still don't know the full song, but I know like 3/4 of the song, which is okay. Because the school never taught me ASL either. So you would think being deaf in one ear, they would want me to learn ASL to get induced in my culture, but it's okay.
Yeah. So Walt mentions the dinosaur, the end of the dinosaur, they have that fake scream.
She did not like dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Dinosaur is a
He
big
does
no for
it. He
me.
does it, but he
I stay away from dinosaur.
Yeah,
Last
that's
time I
pretty
had a 2-hour meltdown from that attraction, and I never rode it again.
Yeah.
And if I did ride it, I would go to the boneyard digging place in Dino Land. That's where I would go.
Yeah, when we were younger, me and Avery used to sit in the middle, and
In the
Avery
middle.
would hide.
So he'd be in my
He'd
armpit the whole trip that I've been watching.
Oh.
But now he rides it. He does good.
The Great Movie Ride was one of my favorites, though. I'm very sad that they took that away.
Oh no! She loves the Goofy ride.
I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen it yet. I'm going based off the Great Movie Ride.
Running off yelling, but that ride is phenomenal. She likes Pandora's ride. Flight of Passage.
Yeah.
I love Flight of Passage.
She likes the Runaway Railroad train. 7 Doors to My Train. She likes Peter Pan. She's okay with Tigger. She just likes the bouncing part.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought the Tigger was fun. I grew up with Winnie the Pooh. The Tigger movie was like right around when I was starting to really get into Disney. And my mom actually got a personalized book of the Tigger movie. One of those things that you put your child's name in a book and it comes out with a personalized book. I had that of the Tigger movie, and I would take that with me everywhere. Even on Disney trips, I would take it with me everywhere.
So other than the special needs pass, I found that a lot of the cast members, they're able to pick up, they can tell that Avery has special needs.
Once he opens his
Once
mouth.
he starts talking, they can tell.
Because he doesn't really look it unless you see a snake.
Yeah, he's usually holding a sensory snake the whole time, which we almost lost this last trip. Well, we almost lost a part of it, and then the Mummy Universal Studios took it. So
I took
a piece of it. Yeah, but we were okay. Everything was okay. But
I never grew up with fidget toys. That was weird. Everyone talks about it now, and I'm like, I never grew up with them, so I don't.
He does.
know.
He has this little snake, and it rattles. So sometimes in the videos you'll hear it, and that's his snake. He's constantly playing with the snake. That's his, I don't know, security.
I wish I had that in school. Man, that would help me out so much.
But once he starts talking, the cast members can tell that there's something different, or he's special needs. And so far, we've always had good experiences with them. The 50s Cafe, he orders his food. They could tell that he's special needs. And then they'll start teasing him, not in a bad way.
Right.
Because he's giggly. So then they'll tease him in a funny way, and then they'll hone in on him, and that's all they're doing is just teasing.
One of them called him Giggles,
Mr. Giggles.
Mr. Giggles, yeah.
They'll put his soda on the opposite side of the table
and tell him to wait till the food gets here.
Yeah. So, have you guys had any? Cynthia, have you had any good or bad experiences in Disney?
When I would first go, I thought I had explained to them, the characters, hey, she's on the spectrum. She may not banter back, and I don't know if they told the person that was the character, the cast member that I told. I don't know if they whispered it, gave a special wink or something, but it's almost like they singled ahead, hey, and my daughter never experienced it,
Yeah.
The only time we had issues is when it came to food, and it didn't. I took her to a dinosaur restaurant, and because I thought it'd be cool to see the dinosaurs. We sat next to the fish tank.
Yeah.
And then they bring us flatbread pizza, and she had a meltdown.
Oh.
So it's we've had I had to go buy her a toy to calm her down. Let's go. Whatever you want. Mommy feels bad. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Trial and error, right?
But after a while, I stopped telling the cast members because I realized how. I guess that's one reason why I fell in love with Disney so much. They just have it together.
Well, the thing is that they don't treat special needs children as if they're different. They treat them just like any other child would be. And to be honest, that's what we see, At least for someone like myself who was 9, 10, 11 and was really getting into Disney, those cast members made a big difference, because at the age of 12 on a trip in Animal Kingdom, I remember the day, it was in Animal Kingdom. My mom was just about to ride Everest. I did not want to go on Everest. I hate thrill rides. I said, Mom, I want to be a cast member one day. That set me to the projection I am today, already a cast member, and, it was fun. That meant a lot to me, my mom's and our entire family, is to see them treat me just as any other child would that's really excited to go to Disney and just allows them to be free. Because there's usually a lot of restrictions in school. There's things you can't do this. And for us females, we mask a lot. And masking, for those of you who don't know what that is, masking is like you want to fit in, and you're kind of fitting in, but it's not being yourself. It's like you're putting yourself in another universe. And females, we do it a lot more. So it's mentally exhausting, but you don't really even notice that it's there. So for me, I never had a mask while I was at Disney, and that made me so happy, because I was like, oh, okay, people don't find it weird here.
Yeah.
Well, everyone at home, I had the opposite happen in school, where kids would think I would be really weird.
I think I really miss Talking Mickey the most, because I don't know if you had to have special qualifications to be friends with the Talking Mickey, but
Yeah, it
that
was
was
weird.
a magical time. They picked up real quick on Reese, and the people in line behind us were getting mad because my daughter was getting so much attention. And I'm like, shh. It's not often my daughter gets to be, the one on the throne, whatever you want to call it, the queen of the day,
Take advantage of it.
She's never been student of the month,
That's the little things like that, at Disney is what truly makes it for us, special needs kids so magical, because they don't see it. They just see it as, okay, you're a kid who's excited to be at Disney. And I think that's for all of us secretly, deep down, whether we're verbal or nonverbal, I think we recognize that the most. We see when people are different towards us, and we're like, why? We're just like anybody else. We just do life differently compared to others. And I think that's why Disney attracted to me more, because every single time I would go, we would have another good experience and another good experience. And even if we had a bad experience, like for me, I had a big problem with textures of food, really bad, even to this day. The cast members will try to make something right, whether to bringing something from a quick service restaurant to the actual table service, so that way I could still eat and my family could still eat at the table service we were eating. Those little details like that are what makes Disney truly magical.
Yeah.
And most people don't realize that.
Yeah, we had more good experiences with Disney in relation to the autism than Universal. I mean, we had
Universal's just starting to get on that bandwagon, I feel like.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because
I don't want to take Reese there, but Stacey, I'm curious, how was it the last time for y'all? Like, I mean, I see what you did on video camera, but truly, how was it?
It was
Universal.
I'm glad we went. I wish we could have gone there more.
She wants to see Harry Potter so bad, but I don't know if she can handle it. Like too much, like.
There is a lot around. I'm trying to think of the noise factor. I mean, the fire-breathing dragon, but you can kind of time when she's not near it. It goes off every half hour, whatever it is. The stores, though. The stores will probably be overstimulation because there's not big stores and there's a lot of people in them. And so
I feel like if you were to go into stores, like go right in the morning. Like for me, if we went to Pandora, I would always do those stores right at the beginning of the day.
Yeah.
So that way they're not, then you're not going in the afternoon where it's like height time.
Yeah, we had Avery did have a little bit of a meltdown. It was when Universal, the Harry Potter's just opened and it was packed and they had the lines out the door of the stores. And you basically followed the person in front of you going through the stores. You couldn't really stop and look at anything. And Avery was young, so he didn't understand that you have to stay in his line. He says that he knows that there's a store there. He wants to go in it. He doesn't care who's in line for it. So that was tough when it was probably more like your daughter's age. That was really tough. And you gonna come in? No, sorry, Sophie's up and down here. So Universal, I would say there is a lot of stimulation there, and there is a lot of noise, and a lot of people they're all over the place because you have the wand stations, so you got people standing in areas and stuff. I don't know. We had a
Universal. Yeah,
we had
I've
a
always
hard
had
time with
issues at Universal. I remember
it
the
wasn't
last trip.
spaced out. They're not spaced
Yes.
out, so it's a small area and a lot of people.
Yeah.
That's what we found. Now he does it fine. He's okay with it. But again, we do go every year, so he learned every year, So
Right.
I think if we didn't do that, he wouldn't be able to handle it like he does today.
I would agree because I didn't go every year to Universal. I only went to Universal every couple of times. We went to Universal Studios Orlando maybe once or twice. And we went to California right before they had their fire. It was maybe like a week after they had the King Kong ride went on fire. That set me off, and after that trip, we decided not to go anymore because we were on the studio tram, and I could smell the smoke and you know, even though there was no smoke there, like I could still tell something was happening.
Yeah.
And it would mess with my head. So we didn't decide to go there. Plus, I wasn't a thrill ride person anyways. I did not like them. Like, I did just started riding Tower of Terror when I was like 17, 18. And I just started riding Space Mountain at the end of my college program, which was 1920. So it's taken me a long time to thrill rides. I don't think I'll ever get to that point. But
I think though, the kids mature, and they're learning new things at school, and me and Charlie were always like, yes, he is special needs, but he needs to know what's right and wrong, and when he
absolutely.
can something he can't. So we were totally fine with yanking Avery out of the place and then, making him sit for a timeout, or try to teach him that that's not how you're supposed to behave. There's a lot of parents out there that don't do that. They feel they can't do that because the child's special needs, but
There's a
they
way to
learn.
do it without feeling condoning, if that makes
Yeah.
any sense. There's a way to do it and make it a teaching moment to where it's not condoning. My mom did that with sometimes using pictures when I was nonverbal still. So telling me like can't talk
Social stories.
exactly.
Yes.
The years of speech therapy and the awkward
My saver.
Yeah, social stories, yeah.
except if they were a live person. My speech therapist did that a lot. She would have us do role play, and that was so
Yeah.
awkward because it didn't feel like a normal conversation, and I felt like it wasn't a real conversation. So
Right.
it made it even more awkward than it needed to be. Like,
Alright, so we have 3 minutes left. The Dangerous Boys is on, at 8:00.
I've heard of them.
I've heard of him too.
I know. I didn't really focus on the chat tonight, but I know
Sorry,
Chuck
guys.
there, so I let him kinda deal with it and make comments. So, I wanna thank you guys for being on.
Thank you for having us.
I was late.
You still showed up.
Oh, that's
And
right.
remember on this team, there's never such thing as a late. You're always on time. Like
You're
Dean
special
said,
needs
every time you
mom.
get on, you're on time.
You're a special needs mom, you're allowed to be late.
I'm telling you, yesterday was our first day of school, and I'm telling you, today I feel like,
Oh,
Yeah.
hearts to you, and man, and respect out there to all the teachers, like More Sunshine Police Gym. Like hearts to all of you teachers out there. We know you're working hard, and you're trying to make this best thing work right now. The state of the world is still in a little bit of a jumble.
Yes, and the way, how everything's changed in the new norm, that big impact on the special need families.
I call it
Especially if IEP system's really going to get shaken up, I feel like after this. They're going to make some pretty big changes in the IEP world.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
I'm not following my daughters right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's hard too, because it's like, I couldn't even get captions accessible in my school district. That was rough. I told them, I'm like,
So-
can you please?
Avery's supposed to have speech therapy. I think it's once a week or something like that. The speech therapist didn't talk to him once. So where did the speech therapy go? How was that done? So I mentioned that to the school this year. So
That's federal document.
Yeah, everything, and I tell teachers all the time when I was in high school and they didn't want to follow. I said, do you want a lawsuit coming from my family to the school district? Because they can if you don't follow it, because it is a federal document and it's based off a law called the IDEA Act. And if you don't know what the IDEA Act is, go and read it.
Yeah.
I mean, say you see me roll into the meetings, I have like a crate full of records. And I may not even look at it, but I just bring it in for intimidation.
I love that.
Yep, you got to play the game. You really
But
do.
there are some, I will say, don't bashing all the teachers out there, because there are some amazing special education teachers out there who are truly looking at kids.
I had to deal with one year.
Yeah, we've had some horrible ones. We've had some excellent ones. So yeah. All right. So it's 8:00. What do you guys have going up on your channel?
Nothing for me.
It's going to be the squad.
I was going to say, me for this week, I'm hoping a blog post will go up. It's about how quarantine was like for me with special needs and how it brought me back to the isolation I had in K through 12 education. Unfortunately, had to get a mental space. This community really saved me from that. And then on Friday is my normal live stream time, 10 p.m. Eastern. We're going to probably do, I think I'm going to continue this and just go into the cast member mode and telling you guys what it's like as a cast member doing, what it's like in the spectrum working as a cast member. I think that's going to be my topic. If not, it will be my Disney Parks 101 ending to my series. And that's going to be Tokyo Disneyland. However, the guest is not confirmed nor denied, so we will figure that out. Stay tuned on my social media, everyone.
So we released Avery's video, was it yesterday or the day before? So we have his season 1, episode 7. I don't know how long this is going to go on, but he says every Friday he's going to do a video. So we'll see.
Yeah, he's having fun with it. That makes me happy.
Yeah, he's enjoying it. It was a little harsh seeing that dislike button.
Yeah, I know.
I like to know who it was, but we won't go there.
I know, yeah, like for us, we can't comprehend that sometimes it's just a weird person who just clicks the button, and it's not just like somebody who dislikes what we made.
Yeah, I mean, they probably didn't know it was special needs.
Is that true? They have bots out there to do that too?
Sometimes they do.
I heard that they have bots that go around doing it.
I don't know.
I've heard rumors about it, but I haven't seen anything confirmed. But I do know that there's bots like that for Shop Disney, but that's a whole different rant.
But Stacey, I do one day want to hopefully get to hang out with y'all at Disney. You know, I was nervous to meet even Kelly from the Mickey Bunch because, like, you don't know who's going to accept your child. You know.
Oh no, are you kidding?
But like
Well,
y'all,
you know that us two are good. You know, us two are good because we deal with it every day. I deal with it every day.
Well, we'll be down there in November.
I don't know, TBD for me because I'm going to college next fall, so. And college tuition is not cheap.
Yeah. So we have I'm working, I haven't started yet, but we're working on our day 2 of our August Disney trip. And Sophie and I are doing the Sunday show, the Lazy Sunday, I think Charlie calls it. And we're going to talk about, I think it's going to be mother-daughter. I think we're going to do questions. I think
Ooh.
you suggested that. So we're going to do questions. So if you guys have any
That'll be fun.
questions, let me know, or I can ask Sophie. So
I was going to say, Sophie has. I will say, Sophie has a good mind when it comes to questions. Like she sticks to them.
Yeah, no, she's good.
From what I've seen in streams.
Yeah, no, she's very easy to partner with. You know. So, all right, well, it's 8:03. Everyone's going to head over to D&G Explorers. Thank you guys for being my guest.
Tell them it's a nerd attack.
Yeah, herd attack, right?
Oh, it's herd attack. Okay, I got that clarified. I thought it was a herd attack the entire time. See, this is my hearing brain of mine.
We're here to do our duty.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm excited.
To do it.
There's some StreamYard like live shows that actually have active captioning throughout the entire show, but yours is not one of them.
No,
it just says it's random people.
All right, well, I'll do the first half and you guys can do the second half. How's that?
I remember what you say.
Don't forget to do your duty.
It's a big duty.
Bye, everybody.
Have a magical night, everyone.
Thank you.